Now, with not a lot of news going on, we got all kinds of YouTubers and news organizations all over the place just leaking supposed news and giving you whatever bullshit they can just make up. So I'm going to make some shit up myself, actually, but this isn't going to be making up parts of the story. What we're going to be talking about today is the top 10 dumbest fucking theories in this entire Idaho 4 case. I'm thejbgunner, this is Crime Time. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's get things started.
Bring it back.
Good morning, everybody. As you guys know, I'm thejbgunner, and this is Crime Time. Before we get started, I want to say first and foremost, thank you to everybody that supports the channel, this channel or any of my channels, regardless of the method you choose, whether it's Cash App, Patreon, Venmo, PayPal. Truth is, guys, I couldn't do this each and every day as often as I do if it wasn't for you, the Gun Squad. So big shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. We all know with YouTube demonetizing me typically or taking me down, you guys are what makes this thing go. If YouTube find value in my content, value in my work, feel free to hit the links down below. Support the channel. Join the Gun Squad today. Love each and every one of you. While you're down there, if you're not a snowflake, you can check out my political content, my live stream channel, whatever the fuck you want to find, gaming channel, wrestling channel. I'm doing content everywhere right now. But today, what we're going to be talking about is Bryan Kohberger and the Idaho 4. For you guys that are just dumb and don't know anything, basically what we had is 4 college kids that were brutally slayed in this house in Moscow, Idaho. And since this has happened, the internet has been filled with theories, and I've taken part in them too. I'm not going to just sit here and point. Last night, I was listening to the Drunk Turkeys. I don't know if that's what they're called, but it was really comical to me, because they're talking about how Bryan Kohberger might have committed this murder 10 years ago, and like somebody that was close to the case but not really close to the case called in and was doing some shit. And I'm not going to blame the turkeys. I like the turkeys. I like all that shit, except for the fact they were real big on gun control the other day. You know how I'm at with that type of shit. But I'm listening to it and I was like, bro, that's 10 years ago. He would have been 18 years old. But then I got back to thinking about when we did the Google search for Bryan Kohberger to see how many times he was being Google searched. And remember, 10 to 15 years ago, his name was popping up a lot in Google searches. So I'm not going to completely call that a dumbass theory, but it got me thinking, what are some of the dumbass theories? So we're going to start with number 10. Number 10, this is one of the dumbass theories we've heard throughout this entire case. Remember when the white Elantra was found in, Oregon or wherever the fuck it was, right? Washington, I think it was Oregon. Remember when that white Elantra was found, everybody started showing deeds to the house, deeds to some Elantra, and they literally said that the landlord and the landlord's son of the house that you see right here behind me probably did it. They could have done it, and they were trying to get away. They left the car there in Oregon or wherever the fuck it was found. This has to be one of the dumbest theories I've ever seen. And the theory is still went on when they've talked about selling the house, demolishing the house. I just want to say one thing to the dummies that believe it could have been the landlord or the landlord's son. Why wouldn't they just demolish the house? Why would they gift it to the school? Why wouldn't they just demolish the fucking house? If I was the landlord and I had killed these kids, immediately I would demolish it. I would demolish it so fucking quick, they'd have to arrest me for destroying evidence. That's the way it would work. But literally, you still see this theory floating around. And listen, I'm not necessarily sure Kohberger did it my damn self. But what I am sure is that people like Kaylee's dad or like the landlord, I'm pretty positive they didn't do it. It makes no sense. But when you get these people, they're running VIN numbers. They think that the car in Oregon belonged to the owner of the house. You see what I'm saying? A lot of dumbassery. A lot of times what you get is people reading shit off Reddit, Twitter, and they go, and shout out to Sleuthie Goosey. Her shit is usually pretty legit. But you'll see people that follow people on Reddit, not the Sleuthie Gooseys, because she's legit. And what they'll do is they'll just take any theory and come back and fire it at you. You know what I mean? And a lot of that is because they want to see, they want to act as if they have some new fucking content, some new breaking news in the story that you didn't know about. And so that's why they come up with the VIN numbers and the landlord. But this is the number 10 dumbass theory in this entire fucking case. Let's move on to number 9. Actually, we're going to do number 9 and number 8 while we're here. Number 9, and listen, I like Crime Circus. I like whatever the fuck he calls himself, right? However, recently, my like for him is kind of, well, let me take this back. My belief in his credibility has fallen off dramatically. And let me explain to you why. When he did all of his videos claiming that Jack, the boyfriend, did it, as soon as Bryan Kohberger got arrested, he deleted all them videos like it never happened. To me, that is just as fraudulent as like what JLR did, went back and changed the titles to say Bryan Kohberger and changed his thumbnails. To me, it's the same thing. I got no problem with drip, drop, whatever the fuck his name is. But the problem of this is he comes up with theories and he sticks to them like he did to Jack. The theory that he's recently been sticking to is that he believes that Bryan Kohberger himself was the DoorDash driver. This is the number 9 dumbass theory in this case. Let me make this clear. Number 1, typically to be a DoorDash driver, I assume you have to use your phone. You have to be connected. You have to do all of that. Remember, Bryan Kohberger, if it was him, he technically would have shut off his phone an hour before and an hour after, if you believe Bryan Kohberger did it. That alone is reason for me to believe that Bryan Kohberger is not the DoorDash driver. But also, don't you think that would leave a hell of a paper trail? Let's be honest. Your entire career at DoorDash is basically people knowing exactly where you're going, picking up food, exactly where you're taking the food. They literally, I don't know if you guys have ever ordered DoorDash, literally, but the person at home that ordered the food can track you in your little vehicle the entire time. It makes no sense to turn off your phone, but then have it like a throwaway phone, a burner phone, and having that thing track. It makes no sense at all, motherfucker. None. To try to not have phones tracking you, but be doing a job with a phone tracking you. And once again, and listen, after drip drop, he got called out for this fuckery, he began starting his videos off saying, this is all speculation and for entertainment. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, he changed the way he verbalized, the way he worded shit, because now he's wanting to take a more carefree, loose stance, and so basically he's admitting he's not reliable. He's just a dude in a clown suit, but just theorizing. That's really what he is. I still like him. I still watch his content, but this was one of the dumbest theories I've ever seen. Number 8 on the list is that, and a lot of you guys believe this, is that somehow Chief Fry did it. For you guys that don't know who Chief Fry is, he's the police chief in Moscow, Idaho. I've seen this a million times. Chief Fry did it, and he's covering it up. Now, I'm not saying that there wasn't a cover-up. I'm not even saying, look, I believe Moscow police rushed to an arrest because they wanted to get someone in custody so that before the next semester of school started, they would be able to say, look, we found the killer. Because you got to remember, the college is like 50% of Moscow, Idaho's revenue. It's literally how that city survives. So I do believe there was a conspiracy. I do believe the police rushed two things. I do believe that there's even a cover-up and that Bryan Kohberger is kind of a fall guy. But what I do not believe is that, and it was that one dude, the trans dude or whatever the fuck he was, he said Bryan Kohberger's he said Chief Fry is a serial killer. He literally came out, what was his name? Justin. Said that Chief Fry is a fucking serial killer, got bodies up in his basement and shit. And then many of you guys ran with that. And you're like, well, maybe Chief Fry, remember when you guys said Chief Fry is at the bar. And so he followed them girls home and murdered them. Y'all said that. Y'all are the ones that said that. And yes, the owner of the bar looks just like Chief Fry, but even if Chief Fry wasn't in there, he's the fucking police chief who says he can't stop in there and get a drink or whatever. But to believe that he followed the girls home and murdered them, just look at the guy. Does he look like a fucking, granted, you can say, what does a serial killer look like? But this was one of the dumbest things ever. Like, to be the police chief and be killing these 4 kids. Like, it just, I don't know if you've ever heard his interviews and seen like the tears tear up in his eyes. To believe that Chief Fry was out here slaughtering college students is a little bit of a push, a little bit of a stretch. But yes, there are people that still do it. I still see them in my comments. I still see them saying, JB, you need to look at Chief Fry. No, I don't need to look at Chief Fry in the slightest. All right, so now what we're going to do is move on to number 7 and number 6. Number 7, all you motherfuckers that think that Enon Harsh did it. And you know, the only excuse you had is that he used to essentially sell ecstasy. Like, you understand, I used to as well. And it's really strange. You're like, there's drugs. Gotta be drugs, and it's gotta be the drug dealer. And then you guys said, well, but look at him. He also knows he knows how to use a knife. That doesn't mean he's a killer. Anyone that ever saw him being interviewed on TNT clearly know Enon Harsh is not a killer. He's a fucking hippie. That's what Enon Harsh is. He's a fucking hippie. He's not a killer. That's just as simple as that. Any dude that loves cats and shit, look, man, he ain't out there killing nobody. I'm just being dead honest. But you guys not only went with it for so damn long, I was telling you the whole time it's not Enon Harsh. But for some reason, you saw something suspect in Enon Harsh. All because he used to be involved in drugs. That's a weird thing. Not all drug dealers are killers. Just being dead honest with you. But then, like I said, also because he has he has knives. Also, you got to understand what you're saying is this man went and killed 4 people and then went right to the news and went right on YouTube channels, went right on out there. And you said the same thing about the other neighbor just because you thought the other neighbor was creepy. It makes no sense to believe that the neighbor is the one that killed him. You got to understand how illogical that sounds. I'm not saying that it can never be done, but the truth of this is if I was going to kill 4 people, it ain't going to be in my damn neighborhood. Because who do you think they're going to look at first? Who do you think they're going to question first? Who do you think they're going to deal with first? All the people in the neighborhood. And with his previous past, and see, that's one of the issues that with a lot of you people. You think that just because someone's been arrested before, or had felonies before, that all of a sudden that makes them more suspect than you. No, all of you have done something illegal. You just didn't get caught. There's not a person watching this video that's never done something illegal. Whether it be jaywalking, pissing outside, I don't care what it is. You know it's illegal to get your dick sucked in Georgia? I'm a fucking, you know how many crimes I've committed? It's illegal to eat pussy. It is illegal to do anal sex. It's illegal to do all of that in Georgia, currently. You know how many fucking laws I've broken? Goddamn. My point of this is, all of us have broken laws. All of us, just some of you haven't got caught. So this belief that, oh, Enon, because he's been arrested or he's done, that doesn't mean anything. He hasn't been arrested. He hasn't been killing people. And so it's really strange. And to move on to number 6, we're going to talk about Bryan Kohberger's dad. Anybody that's watched Bryan Kohberger's dad knows this goofy motherfucker didn't have part in anything. But many of you are like, Kohberger's dad was in on it. That's why he drove all the way out there. Kohberger's dad probably didn't know shit. If Bryan Kohberger did this, he probably called up his dad. He's like, Dad, I'm really excited to come home, but I'm nervous. I don't want to make the cross-country trip in this car. Maybe he lied and said something was wrong with the car. And he's like, I really want a road trip with you, Dad, blah, blah, blah. So Dad probably drove out there, flew out there, and then ultimately decided he was going to take this ride home with Kohberger. All you got to do is look at this, or Kohberger could have said, man, we got this shooting that happened in Pullman with Kopaka. He shot some people, or they had a little shootout or raid or whatever. Kopaka's dead, and I'm nervous right now, Dad. And his dad, being, for a holiday season, like, I'll come out there with you. I'll take the ride with you. Chances are, Bryan Kohberger's dad is a victim just like you. He's innocent. He don't know anything. Or he's a victim just like everybody else. His door was kicked in. His house was raided. All you have to do is listen to this man talk, and you'll clearly see this man is as ignorant about the situation as anyone. He was probably caught off guard when the police kicked in his door. So that, I don't know which one's dumber, is the belief that Bryan Kohberger's father was in on it and helped, or the Enon Harsh shit. But this is something we've had throughout this entire case. Fingers being pointed, fingers being pointed, fingers being pointed. At least the people that I've pointed fingers at, like Jack Showalter or even Jack the boyfriend, in the early goings of this case, at least then it made sense because they were connected directly to the people. They were with the people that night. Do you see what I'm saying? Or one was the boyfriend that was called 10 times in the middle of the night. But for you guys to say Enon Harsh or Bryan Kohberger's dad, when, like I said, you can look at his dumbass face right there. That dude don't know shit. That dude is completely in the dark. Bryan Kohberger over there looking at him right now like, hey, shut up, motherfucker. Maybe Kohberger did do it, but I'll tell you who didn't do it. Bryan Kohberger's dad or Enon Harsh. So if you guys are still speculating on that, I'm surprised you ain't said JB Gunner did it. I'm more likely to kill them bitches than these two motherfuckers. That's the honest God truth. Swear to God. Continuing on. The number 5 dumbass theory that I've heard is that Bryan Kohberger supposedly left the knife sheath on purpose. You gotta be a dumb motherfucker to believe that. You gotta be a dumb motherfucker to believe that any criminal would commit a crime and then be like, you know what? I think I'll leave this here to let them know who I am. Don't get me wrong, serial killers, which we'll get to that here in just a second, sometimes they leave calling cards. But typically that calling card is not a physical object that they've touched. Usually, it'll be like some Silence of the Lambs shit. Or it'll be like Jigsaw, where he cuts a little fucking... Do you see what? That's what serial killers typically do. They typically don't leave what was holding the murder weapon behind for you to find. So you can get his DNA. We'll get to the serial killer thing in just a second because that's my number 4 dumbass theory. But the number 5 is this Kohberger left the sheath on purpose. I'm just going to ask you, when you do something wrong, do you purposely leave evidence that would let them find out it was you? It's a dumb thought. But what you do is you watch so much goddamn Law and Order, you watch too many crime TVs, you watch too many fucking true crime videos, you hear too many theories, and you're like, oh, Kohberger thought he was smarter than all of us, so he decided that what he'll do is he'll leave the fucking knife sheath so he can get caught, so he can beat the case and laugh at everybody. I want you to think about how dumb of a theory that is. You're like, no, he's going to purposely get caught, and then he's doing it so he can try to beat the case. You think Kohberger is sitting in jail right now for 6 months straight because he wanted to? Think about that for just a second. You honestly believe Bryan Kohberger purposely left the fucking knife sheath so he can go sit in jail for 6 months and await trial? That's dumb as fuck. That's almost as dumb as you believing that with them looking for the car, Kohberger knew they were looking for the killer, that Kohberger for some reason took somebody's ID with him to Pennsylvania, or the murder weapon, or anything. It's a dumb theory. Because he already knew they were hot on his trail. If it was him, that's why he got the fuck out of Dodge. That's why he called his dad. That's why he wanted to help getting the car back. That's simple. To believe that he purposely left evidence behind so he could get caught is the most ignorant, dumbass thing I've ever heard. Well, no, it's not. It's number 5. Number 4, Bryan Kohberger is a serial killer. That's the number 4 theory. Okay, and what they'll do is they'll post pictures like this and be like, don't Kohberger look like Ted Bundy? So what? I look like motherfuckers. I look like different. So what? Who gives a fuck? I've had sex with a chick that looks like Fat Albert. Doesn't mean the bitch is, hey. Doesn't mean the bitch is Fat Albert. Okay, I've never had a chick. Well, technically I have. Anyway, let's move on. But with Bryan Kohberger and with this whole situation, let me ask you a question. Like I said, going back to the drunk turkey thing, motherfuckers believe he was killing people 10 years ago. First of all, if he's been doing serial killings and he's been a serial killer all this time, what makes you think he would fuck up this bad? Let's look at all the evidence that he might have left behind, including phone trackings, visiting the thing, if you believe those things are legit evidence, turning off the phone, turning on the phone, if you believe that's legit evidence, plus purposely left the knife sheath, you got the DNA, all of that. Then somehow, after all of that, knowing he left the knife sheath, you're telling me that he took someone's ID with him all the way to Pennsylvania. And there's a lot of you that believe the knife that's in the affidavit is the murder weapon. Many of you truly believe this shit, which is ironic to me. It's just weird. Because if you believe he's a serial killer and you believe he's been getting away with killings, then you should believe that he wouldn't make rookie mistakes like this. If all of these leaks are true, every single fucking mistake that's been made is basically rookie shit. This ain't no real fucking mistake that a real serial killer would do. All of these different mistakes. You think he's driving across country, all the way across country, when the biggest story of the year is the Idaho 4, and he's going to be driving all the way across country with bloody sheets, bloody clothes, same clothes he killed him with, electronics that tie him to it, the knife itself, as well as the ID of this bitch, of someone. If it's anything, and we'll talk about this in another video, maybe Dylan Mortensen's ID. Because once again, you know what I think about Dylan Mortensen, and we'll get to her in just a second. But ultimately, the belief that he was this stupid pretty much eliminates him from being a serial killer. Because that's the one thing about serial killers. They're typically not very stupid. Serial killers last a long time because they know how to not get caught. So you're telling me this dude was a serial killer and he was going to school for criminology. He knows this all and still made all these mistakes. No. There's dumb motherfuckers that never went to school for criminology that still don't make all these mistakes. So you can't have it both ways. Either he's smart and a serial killer, and this time he just got caught, or he's dumb and that's why he got caught. You can't have it both ways. So number 4 on the list is that Bryan Kohberger is a serial killer. Been killing people for over 10 years and skinned a dog named Fluffy or some shit. Something wrong with y'all, man. All right, now we're going to move on to number 3. Number 3 is that Dylan Mortensen was frozen in fear for 8 hours. I've heard not only the news media say it, I've heard police officers say it, I've heard you dummies say it. Dylan Mortensen was so scared she was frozen in fear for 8 hours. What's dumb about that theory is that she clearly was opening the door and saying, shut the fuck up. And she clearly, let me just make this clear, she clearly in her statement said that she thought it was potentially just another dude in the party. She just thought it was another visitor. But would you guys believe that Dylan Mortensen was frozen in a frozen state for 8 hours straight? I have no clue where you got that from. No clue why you believe that. No clue why you even think that would be possible. And then I got a lot of you people that's like, it is possible they could be frozen in fear. No. Because you also believe that Bryan Kohberger didn't see her. You also believe that she was able to see that it was all dark, even though there was clearly LED lights in that very small area. And ultimately, you got to understand that doorway also has a step down. Bryan Kohberger, if he had never been in that house before, you don't think he was going to trip on that step down? If Bryan Kohberger's in such a hurry after killing Xana and Ethan, he hits that little step, you don't think he would have stumbled a little bit? And you don't think he would have noticed Dylan Mortensen standing right there in the doorway? Trust me, I think it's very possible that Bryan Kohberger saw, or whoever the killer was, saw Dylan Mortensen. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. It'd be really interesting if he does have Dylan Mortensen's ID, now wouldn't it? Maybe he was like, there is no, like, trust me, I'm curious why he didn't kill her. But ultimately, the whole Dylan Mortensen being frozen for 8 hours thing makes absolutely no sense. To call everybody else over there but the police when you do. Look, there's no question Dylan Mortensen was buying time. There's no question Dylan Mortensen was getting rid of some shit. There was no question that Dylan Mortensen was making the house presentable legally for when the police got there. That's my honest theory. To just believe she just, for 8 hours, it's a foolish thing. Because the other theory would be, well, maybe she was drunk and just went back to bed. That doesn't sound like frozen for 8 hours. Remember the affidavit said she's frozen for 8 hours. Some of y'all don't get the affidavit joke because, well, it's on y'all. But anyway, frozen for 8 hours. So she can't use the I was drunk and went back to bed. You can't be both. You were either drunk, knocked out, or you were frozen in fear for 8 hours. I think that's the dumbest theory in the world for people to seriously believe that. I think it's the biggest conspiracy theory of the whole thing for you to believe that Dylan really was just frozen. I think that's maybe even, except for the number one thing, which I'll get to in a minute. That may be, I mean, it's easily top 3. But the whole frozen in fear thing, to me, makes no sense. I don't ever see a human do it. To believe she did it, you would have to discount a lot of things. And ultimately, I've showed you guys the house. I've shown you that doorway. I don't believe Bryan Kohberger didn't see it. I don't believe Bryan Kohberger was running out of that house and not trip on that step going down. Just being perfectly honest. But anyway, let's move on to number 2. The number 2, and this may be the number 1, but it's not. I got something else that's number 1. You motherfuckers that believe Dylan is a tranny. That means you believe I'm gay, man. That's the unfortunate thing, and that's why I hate this theory. Because there's not a dude in here that wouldn't fuck the shit out of Dylan Mortensen. Look at this. Does this look like a fucking tranny to you? Do you not know what a woman looks like? I understand we live in the woke agenda, where we live in the woke times where nobody knows what a woman is, what a man is. But bro, if you look at this chick and you don't see woman, I'm sorry, bro. You may be gay yourself. How can anyone look at this woman? I understand why the bitches do it, because bitches are jealous of bitches that look better than them. Every single woman I've ever seen in the chat room or in the comment section say Dylan looks like a tranny is uglier than Dylan. Some big fat ass fucking Karen sitting on a computer. I think Dylan is a tranny, JB. Shut up, bitch. Or that Justin dude or thing or whatever. It's weird to believe that Dylan's a trans. You can clearly see she's 100% woman. And like I said, there's not a dude in here that wouldn't bang. Being dead honest, not a dude in here. So I think that's the number 2 craziest theory. And then when you add what Justin said, well, she was killed because she was targeted. She was targeted because she was trans. Then why'd he kill everybody else? You know what I'm saying? No, Dylan was the target, JB. Then why did she survive and everybody else is dead? Makes no sense. Well, he was trying to send her a message, JB. Or what, that he'd kill everybody but her? I mean, that doesn't sound like a hate crime, as y'all put it. So yes, the whole Dylan Mortensen has a dick thing is probably the dumbest. Well, it's easily the number 2 dumbest theory in this whole thing. What's the number 1 theory? Y'all know where I'm going to go with this because many of y'all still think it. Let's talk about it. The absolute number 1 dumbass theory of this whole thing is that El Chapo killed the bitches. You know who you are out there. JB, it's the cartel that killed them. Stop. Come on. El Chapo sent his thugs to kill these 4 unknown teenagers or kids, college kids. I hear it all the time, man. It's the dumbest of the dumb. Because it's like, and I ask people, I was like, why do you think that? Well, because it was a party house, JB. There's party houses all over the place. Because they might have had drugs, JB. Well, listen, man, I know plenty of people that have plenty of drugs. They've never even seen a cartel member. It's a weird thing. And all this tells me, it's always people that you know just never been involved in drugs or crime at all. They truly believe that if drugs is involved, it involves the cartel. They didn't pay El Chapo, JB. That's why they're good dead. You know how stupid you fucking sound? You know how fucking stupid you sound? No, it was Christ Church, JB. It was Christ Church and El Chapo and the mafia and the cartel. Well, what were they killed for? What, a couple ounces of weed or something? A couple of X-pills? A little bit of coke? You sound dumb. To believe, and a lot of theories throughout this entire case is just people that's inexperienced with any of this. They've never been to jail. They've never been to court. They've never faced murder charges. They've never actually sold drugs, done drugs, been around drugs. And so they always come up with that shit they think they say on TV. There was drugs. That's the mafia. That's the cartel. No, it's not. Because those same dummies are the same ones that are like, but Enon Harsh is selling drugs. So is Enon Harsh part of the cartel? Make up your mind. But this is, to me, the absolute dumbest theory throughout this entire thing. Even more dumb than Dylan's a trans. The whole cartel thing is there's no, and when you ask them to give you evidence, they can't. That's how when you look at every single theory I have, all 10 of these theories, I want you to understand. Every one of those theories, they have absolutely no evidence for. None. No evidence whatsoever. And if you ask them, they will try to gaslight you like you're just a sheep, JB. I'm a sheep because I don't think the El Chapo killed these kids. You're a dumb bitch. But this is how they all act. They keep creating these theories because they have nothing else to do. They have no other knowledge except for when they watch us. And so they sit there with their fat little fingers typing and searching and Googling shit. And so they come back and they say, I think I know who did it. I got it. Listen, none of us know. But I can tell you who is not. El Chapo. Guys, that's my list of 10 of the most dumbass theories that we've seen throughout this entire list. What is your top 10? Do you agree with my list? Let me know in the comments section what you think. If you're one of them dummies with these theories, sorry if I hurt your pee-pees. Suck my dick. Guys, if you like what I do here and you find my content valuable, feel free to hit the links down below. Support the channel. Join the Gun Squad. I appreciate every last one. Maybe we'll do a live stream sometime this week over here just to kind of shoot the shit, have some drinks, talk to you guys about these cases. It's a slow time for true crime right now. It just kind of is. I'm going to do a video a little bit later on Madeline, whatever the fuck her name is, do another video on that. But mostly I just wanted to get you guys this video out. This is kind of a fun video to do. Since there's no breaking news, we might as well kind of do a top 10 list. Why not? Anyways, this is what YouTubers do, I guess. I don't think I've ever done a top 10 list. I might have. I think I did Suspects. Anyways, I love you guys. I'm JB Gunner. This is Crime Time. You guys have a good one. I look forward to seeing your comments. Peace out.